Hi guys, in this episode we'll be taking a journey into adding a total immersion system to our rig. 5 bass shakers covering the whole virtual car so we can feel every little detail on track. So let's get ready to rumble. When I put together my last bass shaker project, you might remember it from this video, it used 4 bass shakers and that was across 2 Nobsound amplifiers. I then added some rumble motors to the pedals, and whilst this project was a lot of fun, it ultimately fell short of the kind of level of detail that I wanted in the feedback on my pedals. About a year ago I switched to using Dayton audio pucks on the pedals instead. This feels great, but does now mean I have a situation of using 3 amplifiers to drive the rig. That's where this project comes in, using a 5-channel amplifier to give us the same 4 points of contact in our rig, with the little added benefit of feedback for our gear shifter, and all driven from a single amplifier. To power this project I'll be using a Fosi Audio HT4S amplifier capable of driving 5 bass shakers without all the faff of using up to 3 valuable USB ports. The actual feedback will be handled by 2 Dayton audio pucks attached to my Valve pedals, 2 Dayton audio BST2s under my seat, and a single BST2 connected to my shifter arm. These shakers are all rated at 30 to 35 watts, which fits in well with the ceiling of the HT4S. I'll be removing 2 BST2s from under the pedal tray, as I found this somewhat redundant since adding them to my pedals themselves. Actually, the pucks at full strength kick out enough feedback to feel through most pedal trays anyway. Great for feedback, but can be a bit awkward if something rattles around your pedal space. The Fosi Audio amp provides only stereo output through all the channels, so with this setup we lose front and rear distinction. That isn't as big a deal as you might think, but does mean you'll lose the ability to tell if it is a lockup from the front or the rear. The pedal mounted bass shakers are using this 3D print for the Valve Ultimate pedals. This allows direct contact with the pedal surface, and you can feel the force all the way through the pedal. Despite their diminutive size, the Dayton Audio TT25 pucks pack quite a punch, so as long as you can mount them around your pedals, you should still get good feedback. There are plenty of sellers out there for various pedal mounts, so if you don't have a 3D printer or friend with one, then you should still be good to go. If for whatever reason you don't want to mount bass shakers to your pedals, you could still go the route of using shakers mounted to your pedal tray, as I originally did in my earlier project. Under the seat we have the same arrangement as our original project, zip-tied BST2 shakers to the seat springs. This works really well with the GT Omega recliner seats. However, if you have a bucket seat, there is a chance you have to resort to something more drastic, carefully drilling out mounting holes. When doing this, mask over the hole before drilling. It'll make your life so much easier. It'll give you traction for the drill, and hopefully will stop any splintering of the seat material. Our final BST2 shaker has 2 holes drilled out to allow us to mount M6 bolts straight through, and this is mounted to our shifter arm for added effect. If you use a Fanatic shifter, you could use a Dayton audio puck to do much the same, but mounted direct to the shifter. I don't have mine available right now. My Fanatic shifter is in limbo with Fanatic support, but this should work quite well. Download and install the SimHub software from their website. This uses an installation wizard, so you should be fine to accept the defaults. Then we load up the software itself. The devil is in the detail with SimHub settings. Not all feedback is created equally, and whilst we strive for immersion, we also want to tell the difference between locking up our brakes and hitting a curb. Primarily, I ensure to pick out wheel slip, spin, traction control and ABS. Not all sims give you these, but these are perhaps the most important features to help with driving at the limit. After that, for immersion, I add engine rumble, shifter kick and road effects, so curbs and bumps. Feel free to add more effects, or better yet, leave your suggestions in the comments below. My profile settings are in the description, so you can drive using these or see how I have set things up for your own setups. Initially, testing took place using the Bluetooth functionality of the amp. This unfortunately had too much of a delay, so I swapped this out for an auxiliary cable plugged into the sound card in a spare channel not used by Windows. This eliminates the delay, but does result in some weird quirks in some games. For example, Assetto Corsa Competizione gives me a little bit of noise between scenes. I put this down to low quality audio in the built-in sound card, but it could also just be a quirk of that game. Effects wise, you can feel everything you need, especially wheel locking and slip, which helps with understanding what the car is doing underneath you. I thought I'd notice the lack of front and rear differences more, but actually, whilst it is noticeable, it isn't a huge difference, and not the difference I thought it would be. If you've never experienced bass shakers before, they really do bring the car to life in a way that's hard to understand until you try them. Honestly, this is more than enough to help you understand what the car is doing underneath you. A motion rig is that next level, but you don't get much more than what you get with bass shakers. Moving the shakers from the rig to the pedals brings them more into direct contact with you, the driver, with the feedback going through you and not the rig. Bass shakers can be noisy, and this does allow you to reduce the volume a little without necessarily losing important feedback. The amp is the most expensive single part of this project, coming in at $120. Next up are the free BST2 bass shakers at $40 each, and then we have two TT25 pucks at $25 a piece. This gives us a total project of around $400. Compare this with the $40 per Nobsound, and we're looking at about the same budget. We do save on 3 USB ports and 2 power supplies though, so if you are short on these, this gives you a great working alternative, albeit with limitations on the power of the shakers we can drive. Reworking my bass shaker project around the HT4S was primarily motivated by having a clean up of the speaker wires to a more easily maintained location, reducing the number of USB ports in use and freeing up some all-important power sockets is very worthwhile for me. Having a single device handling all bass shaker activities certainly makes life easier for managing volume levels and wiring. However, with this particular device, that comes at the cost of feeling a difference between your front and rear feedback. This compromise isn't too bad though, and gives us some advantages, such as if we want to drive several shakers from the same signal. We could also drive more shakers around our person if we wanted to feel feedback at our backs. Another configuration I've considered is using 3 shakers from the HT4S and then 2 for a Nobsound. This gives us that front and rear separation and also allows us to drive many bass shakers around the rig for even more immersion. This does of course cost us $40 more for that Nobsound and reduces our power and USB port savings. However, the beauty of something like this is that we can build it up in stages so the upfront costs can be reduced. Overall, this was an interesting experiment. It's good to provide different options to tackle the same problems, and bass shakers are such a complete experience enhancement. It's definitely worth the effort of trying to get them in your rig. Now I hope you've enjoyed this refresh of our budget bass shaker project, and if you have, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. If you like what we're doing on this channel, don't forget to mash that subscribe button, and I shall see you guys in the next video. Goodbye for now.